new personnel report and revised, so that's what we'll be looking at. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Brian?
Just a couple. We have a new hire. The posting for the elementary media parapro expired, and we had a candidate, Sherry Sparby, who was selected for the position. I do not believe she is here. I know she was going to try to make it tonight, but we look forward to her starting at Lee to fill the vacancy of Marie Cass, who moved to the Title I position at Lee, and so forth. Sadly, I regret that we received a resignation letter today, effective sometime between December 20th and December 27th. We're still working out the details with the receiving district. Veronica Bell, art teacher, has resigned as the art teacher at the high school, and will be taking on a position as an art teacher at Birmingham Public Schools. I wish her only the best. She is an outstanding teacher, and it is truly a loss for Richmond for that position.
Brian, is it October?
I'm sorry,
20th?
October 20th is when they have requested. I have requested October 27th to be her last day, which is why you'll see the notes in the minutes, so that we have time to find a replacement and have some time for job shadow or sharing before she leaves. So. And then as far as the claims and accounts, Board Member Worth had sent me a couple questions. I responded to him today, but I just wanted to bring the board just in case there were similar questions on it. Check number 4602. There are 2 invoices for professional services for Troon Law Firm. Those were for the student discipline policy that we had to have rewritten, the training for the administrators on that student discipline policy. There's some construction manager issues dealing with the science windows at the high school that we've been going back and forth with. So that's what those costs are related to. Check number 46044, which is also a legal fee for O'Reilly Rancilio. That was dealing with when we started exploring the option of the chamber leasing space, and legally could we do that, being 2 private nonprofits, and creating the memorandum of understanding for the chamber. They're still planning on moving in. They're just finalizing their lease where they currently are. So that was some just for our own protection to make sure that we wouldn't lose anything being a school. And finally, the last one was check number 46047. A check actually has gone out, and we've actually received a refund on that check. It's already been deposited. That's for our legal services. We were one of many districts that sued the state of Michigan in a lawsuit regarding unfunded mandates, primarily for the CEPI, which would be the Center for Educational Performances and Information that we have to report. The amount we paid was actually the full amount of the bill rather than our portion. So again, once Tammy, we caught it in the checks and balances, we got the check back and it's already been deposited. So our portion of that bill was $62.42. So we've already had the refund of the difference put back. So I think those are the 3 they asked me, and I didn't receive any other questions on claims and accounts from anybody else.
Okay, it has been moved and supported. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is our True Blue moment. And this evening, like I said, we have members from the web program at the middle school. Ms. Clausen, if you and your group want to come up.
This is actually my 3rd year of doing web at the middle school, and it's actually a terrific program. The web stands for Where Everybody Belongs, and what we do is we choose 8th grade leaders each year based off teacher recommendations, not just academics, but as a well-rounded individual, we are looking for a web leader. The web leaders serve as like a mentor for our 5th graders that are coming into the middle school. It's almost like a big brother, big sister program. We meet once a month with the 5th graders, as far as attending their lunch. At the lunch, the 8th grade web leaders eat with them. They go out for recess with them. They ask any questions or address any concerns, but they're there to build that bond with the 5th graders. So like if they're walking through the halls and they see the 8th grade web leaders or an 8th grade web leader, they could ask them a question. If they have trouble finding a location in the building too, they could turn to the 8th graders that they know serve as the web leaders. Once a quarter, so 4 times, and actually the 5th time being the web kickoff, which started September 11th this year, is when we get together, a whole group with the 5th graders. We break down into 2 colored teams per class. We have 4 5th grade homerooms right now, so we have 8 different colored groups. And the web leaders are assigned about 5 to 6 5th graders. And what we do is we do like a hands-on series of different activities to get them to kind of like come out of their shell, get to build the bond again with the 8th graders. I think it's been a very positive experience. We focus on the skills of social, academics, and leadership. Today we had our first scheduled meeting. Our next meeting is November 6th. In the meeting today we discussed time management, how to help the 5th graders organize their time, flexible time limits, a schedule, a things to do list. We were laughing about how every 5th grader usually comes to the middle school with a locker shelf and those locker chandeliers, everything that looks terrific, like when you're at Staples or Office Max to buy, but the practicality or how it's going to actually function in your locker once you get all the materials in there. So to possibly save their moms a few chandeliers or a few locker shelves over the years so they don't end up in the garage sale in June. But again, it's been a very positive experience. We have a great group of students. We actually have 26 web leaders with us, and I think we have close to about 105, if not a few more. We call them Webkins, our 5th grade buddies. So, yep, if you ever get a chance, it's generally the first Monday of the month, just depending on how the schedule falls. So, any questions for anybody? Or from anybody, I should say? Okay. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Good luck with everything, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our presentations. We have Coach Day here with his wrestling trips.
Do you want me to go through date by date and just give you kind of an overview?
Yes.
Okay.
Overview of each one.
We have an opportunity to take four trips this year. The first one being December 15th and 16th at Defiance College. It's a 32-team tournament in Defiance, Ohio. And we took 3rd there last year. The second trip will be over Christmas break. That'd be 12/26 through 12/28, Medina, Ohio. We actually won the small school division of that tournament last year. One of the probably the third most prestigious high school wrestling tournament in the country. And then January 11th through the 13th, we have an opportunity to wrestle Westland John Glenn High School on alumni night on January 11th at Olivet College. And then Olivet would like to give all of our student athletes a tour of their campus, take them through a financial aid presentation, talk to them about what they need academically as far as eligibility for college, and pretty unique opportunity and experience for our kids that taking trips like this in the past has presented to us. And then on the 13th, we get to wrestle the number 25 team in the country, Lowell High School, at Lowell High School. And then on 126 and 127, on 126 we'd be wrestling Detroit Catholic Central at Michigan State University before Michigan State wrestles Wisconsin. And then on 127, we get an opportunity to wrestle the number 1 ranked team in the country, St. Paris Graham, Ohio, at St. Paris Graham, Ohio, before Ohio State wrestles Purdue. Again, another unique opportunity for our kids. And these trips have really allowed us to do some special things. And in the past 3 years alone, we've had 4 full ride Division I, Division II scholarship academic athletes. Not to mention the other guys that they got money as well, but these trips have been a huge part of it. And we're just excited about all of them. I mean, it's because of the board in the past, giving us the opportunity to do these things, it has really improved our relationships with higher academic institutions and given our kids the, I don't want to say put them out there and giving them the opportunity to be recruited, the opportunity to network with these people, and we keep getting invited back, so we're doing something right. So. But just those 4 trips, I think we'd miss in total a day and a half of school, and we have a mandatory hour-long study hall every day. So I don't, it's never been an issue in the past, and I think what they're going to get for those that day and a half being out of school is especially the Olivet trip. I know. Speaking to Mr. Worth earlier, so many of our kids, their parents don't know how to fill out FAFSA. They don't know how to fill out a FAFSA. So we're going to get walked through that. They're going to see, this is what college really costs. This is what college really costs if you get good grades. And so I think that is a very, very unique experience that I think will benefit our kids a ton. So just those 4 trips. Yeah.
Questions? Okay. Thank you. Good luck this year.
Thank you.
Next is our public comment. It's the portion of our meeting. If anyone would like to address the board, they can do so. You come up to the podium. There's a card there. You can leave your name and phone number. It is not a question and answer session. If you have a question you need answered, someone will get back with you. You have 3 minutes to speak. Is there anyone who would like to address the board? Okay, moving on. Well, Haley is not here. I'm assuming she's out playing
She was out on the field.
powder puff?
playing powder
Okay.
puff.
So we will move on from that. She must have gotten so excited about playing powder puff, she forgot to send me an email. Hopefully her team wins. Next, moving on, superintendent and legislative update.
Okay, I'd like to start first with some of the legislative updates out there for the board and the community members to at least be aware of, and make sure you're contacting the state legislatures on your opinion on them. There was Senate Bill 271, the legislator sponsored by Senator Nolenberg. Though it's kind of staled right now, but it is potentially going to be resurfacing, which would allow schools to start before Labor Day. The current bill, and it's standing, again, there's been inaction on the bill, but it's planning on coming back, would require schools to, if they choose to start before Labor Day, minimally have the Friday off before Labor Day, as well as if you go during August, you can only go to school Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So you must maintain Fridays and Mondays off in August. So I don't see that as a priority in the legislation right now, but it is one that keeps coming back on that one. Last Wednesday, there was a supplemental school aid package that was passed. If you recall from our last board meeting, there were some stipulations that was put on 31A that kind of changed the focus, and I talked about, we're going to be definitely in compliance, but we may have to just shuffle money around from general fund and shift things that we thought were going to be 31A to general fund, and things we thought were going to be general fund back to 31A. That has been changed and revised. Some of the pieces that were restored, they restored $1 million for an online math tool, which is section 99U, and $250,000 for digital assessments that are accessible. They've increased funding for the technology certification from $1 million to $2.3 million. They've also increased CTE equipment funds, which Ms. Michon and I will be looking at as we've launched our culinary arts program and the potential that we're going to have for that year 2 costs. They've added, which I'll just say, they've added new language that exempts homeschool students and non-public students from having to complete an educational development plan like all public school students have to have that are taking a virtual course. So there is this again, it's a double standard. There's not equity among all of us in terms of accessing those virtual courses. It allows students who turn 4 between September 2nd and December 1st to enroll in GSRP programs now, if there's space available. It caps the English language arts portion of the M-STEP to no more than the English and math portion of the M-STEP to no more than 3 hours beginning this year. This past school year, the state superintendent reduced the amount of testing time, and it will have to be reduced again coming for this spring's implementation. It also requires that by March 1st, the Department of Education have at least 2 benchmark assessments, and I mentioned this previously about the NWEA being one of those benchmark assessments that would be used in the FY 18-19 school year for the state assessment. This week, what's on the docket coming out are in the Senate Education Building, actually it's on the agenda for tomorrow, is Senate Bill 5574, which would require any counties that have enhancement millages to allow those millage dollars to be accessible by charter schools that are within that county. There are currently 5 ISDs levying an enhancement millage: Kalamazoo, Midland, Monroe, Muskegon, and Wayne. We have talked as a county at the superintendent's level in the past, and I think at the County School Board Association about the possibility of Macomb seeking. But if this is passed, it would allow charter schools who may not be from this county to access those millage dollars. That is one we are watching very closely. This Wednesday at 8 o'clock, there is a joint meeting of the House School Aid Appropriation and the Senate School Aid and the Governor's Office and the Department of Treasury to talk about the quarterly reports on deficit districts. If you recall, I think I put it in the newsletter, but I also reported it in one of a previous board meeting. In June of 17, 26 school districts across the state ended the year in a deficit. We are not one of them. We do not have a deficit, but 26 of them. 9 of them were projected to eliminate the deficit this year. 12 of them were actually to reduce the deficit, and 3 of them were actually going to increase the deficit. So it's one that just watching who falls in that deficit district. On the school side, we got a lot of activities going on this week. Tonight, as you had mentioned, is the Powder Puff game. It's homecoming festivities. At 7 o'clock, the bonfire was starting, so if you want out there for the board meeting, you can go behind the high school. They'll have a bonfire out there with cider and donuts. This Friday, we have the homecoming parade, which starts at 5 o'clock, followed by the football game at 7, and then a fireworks show immediately following the football game by Pyro Joe's again. And if you attended last year's, it was pretty impressive. He's indicated he's up the ante this year. Still all legal, but he keeps testing the envelope. Saturday is the homecoming dance at 6 o'clock at the high school. I want to remind parents, we're 6 weeks into the school year already, if you can believe it, and we have half days on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for parent-teacher conferences. So I encourage all the parents to take a minute and meet with your child's teacher, see how they're doing, as well as talk about how we can partner together to make them even more successful. Last Friday, the students in grades K-3 received a letter from myself, Mr. Berkmeyer, Mr. Koshin, and Mrs. Napier, talking about the 3rd grade reading law, which goes into effect. Beginning this year, those that have not made the target or expectation on one of the state's assessment, which NWA is one of them, the teachers will be talking to those parents to put a plan together to improve them so that they are on target to pass the 3rd grade proficiency test in the school year 19-20, which affects our current 1st graders. So by when they turn into 3rd grade, if they don't pass the state assessment, by law they are required to be retained unless there's a good cause exemption. So we gave them some information. There in the back of the letter there was some stuff about the law, and the teachers have met with Mr. Koshin and Mrs. Napier, identified the students, and they're going to have those conversations with parents. So I'm very pleased and thankful for what Mr. Koshin and Ms. Napier has done, as well as the teachers, in being proactive on this and working with those parents. And I want to thank Mr. Berkmeyer, because there's a lot of grants that we've been able to get to fund some of the stuff that we have to do, especially with the home literacy portion, so, which will be coming to you. Kathy Guinea, who is the middle school lead cook at the middle school here, has won the by the School Nutrition Association of Michigan. She is the manager of the year. She has gone up against many districts, and she will receive her award on October 21st. Just to give you a little background, the Manager of the Year award recognizes the School Nutrition Association of Michigan member in a leader or management role who inspires and brings creativity, dedication, and passion to the school nutrition profession. Kathy has attended all available school nutrition events since she's begun working in food service. She attended a leadership academy on her own time over this past summer, and also recently completed a tough 2-year leadership program for this outstanding organization. Kathy coordinates a lot, and I'm very excited to announce that she won at the state level, so good for her. And finally, this past Wednesday was Count Day. Throughout this whole budget process, we have been reporting, trying to be as transparent as possible. I put up on the screen several assumptions, and that's exactly what they were, assumptions, just by moving students ahead. We had projected to be down about 50 students. Was it 50? I think it's 50 students. As you know, we had an influx in kindergarten. We had to add a section. We had an influx in 4th grade, which we had to add a section there. So with preliminary results, though, from our FTE from last year, we appear to be 11 students down. From what we budgeted, we are 40 students up. So some of that increased revenue that we project to have, some of it had already been spent, adding those positions back and so forth, but that's a good sign. And then if you recall, in the June budget, it was a last minute put in about $25 for every high school student the state did, and we had put the liaison officer back. That equates to about $11,000, $12,000, which would pay for that liaison officer. So that's already been budgeted, and we already have that in the budget. So it's good news. Like I said, we're still down, but we're not as down as much as we projected. So with that, that's all I have.
Great, thank you. Next, items of interest for members of the board. Does anyone have anything? Okay, and we will move on to our action items. We have first the approval of the overnight wrestling field trips that Coach Day presented earlier. There's a sample resolution.
I motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and approve the overnight wrestling tournament as presented during the October 9th, 2017 board meeting and included in the attached documentation.
Second.
It has been moved and supported. Is there any discussion?
I just have 2 points. Normally, this would go to a second meeting, but because we don't have a second meeting, that's why it's coming before you tonight. And I just want to echo what Coach Day said. Our sports programs do a great job on and off the field, but what they do with the kids to show them the doors that open up to them at these colleges and give them the opportunity to visit, put their name out there and see them, I can't thank them enough, because it does open a lot of doors for our students in our districts.
It's huge. Anybody else?
No, I'll just thank Coach Day for doing it, doing all that he does.
Okay, it has been moved and supported. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, approval of representative to parent advisory committee. Brian?
Every year we have to, each district is part of the special education, and then there's some backup from the ISD in your packet. I think it's on our Michigan rules, R340-1838, that says there has to be a parent advisory committee. And we are recommending we appoint a member of our community here, and there is a memorandum, Jackie Cantanella, and it gives a little background about Jackie as far as our parent recommendation, our recommendation to the Parent Advisory Committee representing Richmond Community Schools. They meet approximately once a month, once every other month, depending on their meeting schedule. And based on the recommendation of Shirley Matiszewski, our Director of Student Support Services.
Okay, there's a sample resolution.
I motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent and appoint Jackie Cantanella as Parent Advisory Committee PAC representative and Randy Blankenship as the alternate for the Macomb Intermediate School District MISD Parent Advisory Committee.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we are adjourned at 7:29.